Okay, that was super weird. I had it like, anyway. Okay, we are live on Dear Darby. And for some reason, it's like telling me that I'm live. It's like notifying me, but I'm happy you guys are here. All right. Alina and I are not together for the first time ever, but she's going to join us.
I made it!
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Oh.
So we
Hey
are
guys!
just not together.
No, and we're quarantined, so we don't wear makeup anymore. Just kidding. April does. I do not wear makeup.
I did, but I still am I smell like spit up, so good thing we don't have smell.
It's true. Do you wish it was Friday? It's true. I know it's only Tuesday. Guys, somebody made a joke somewhere. I don't remember, but this is like, I'll never take January for granted again because March has felt like 5,000 days long. So we get you. We get you.
Yeah, I saw one that said it's March 97th.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what I saw. Something
Totally.
like that. It's true. I love it. Spit Up's the perfume of motherhood. You got it. We're here. We're doing it. So April and I aren't together. You can tell from here. But we wanted to talk about some really important things. So I'm Alina.
And I'm April.
And yes, let's talk about the earthquake. Did you feel it, April?
I did feel it. So Alina's not in Boise right now, but we both live in the Boise area. But Alina's not here right now, but I am, and I totally felt it. And I was like super dizzy after it. So weird. It was really weird, and had to convince my kids for a minute. Like my husband ran and he saved himself. He ran under the door frame and was like, guys, come on. And they're like, what's going on? So, and all of us are like, what are you doing? But I guess we need to do a little bit more preparation.
That is
go for our children.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Okay, should we start?
Yes, let's get in
it. Start?
Okay, so we put it out there that I mean, it's kind of been going back and forth a little bit of like hospitals restricting who's allowed in the delivery room, even saying like partners might not be allowed. And honestly, it's not because of the virus exposure as much, or having people in the hospital. It's more that there's not as much protective gear for people. So if you have your partner and somebody else, and if every laboring woman has at least two people, that's two sets of protective gear that is going toward people that aren't medical professionals and are just support people. And so that's kind of the thought process around it, as far as I understand it. It's not necessarily that they're thinking like, oh, we can't have people in the hospital. It's more just preparing people, protecting people. And so but we have heard, I mean, there's been a few, and I even saw an article that I think some of the government officials came out and said that spouses or partners or like having someone there is actually a necessary support person. And so they can't restrict people or moms from having at least their spouse with them. So they've kind of redacted that in New York, but at the same time, again, talking to my friend who's in Washington State, that was coming from her appointment yesterday in a smaller hospital. And so it's just like, again, there's everything. And with the comments that have come in on our question box, there's a lot of us, I guess I would just say all of us, that are just scared of the unknown and that everything is changing daily. Like we just don't know. In a week, in a month, in 6 months, who knows what the climate's going to look like. So because of that, it was really interesting, the polls. You know, I definitely, at this point, it feels like it'll be okay. Like your spouse will be able to be there and it'll be okay. But I mean, 3 weeks ago, I didn't think we'd be on quarantine. So, you know, like you just never quite know. what's going to happen. So we opened it up to are people considering home births, because that seems to be the honestly the other alternative, to not going in and not having your support team with you, or deciding on a home birth. And we had a 75% poll that said you guys would choose home birth. So we also had a question box, and I typed out all the questions that I feel like I can answer. So Lena, do you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm excited to hear what's going
on. Yes, and Emily said in southeastern Idaho, they're saying that having one necessary support person is okay. They are still also allowing visitors after the birth, but only one at a time. So that is a good option.
That's kind of rare. That's becoming rare as this goes on and on. So my husband works for a hospital, and they are having to crack down pretty hardcore on any visitors. There actually are no visitors allowed at a birth. They're still allowing the husband to come, but he said even then, like April said, these are unprecedented times, and so they don't know from day to day what this looks like. So that's why, and it's just the unknown. We just don't know what we don't know. So the interesting thing is, to me, is the home birth used to be I don't know what's, if it's safe, I don't know what's going to happen. And it's an interesting shift that now we're having to look at our healthcare system in a different light. And I don't think that's bad, and I don't think it's good. I think it's interesting as human beings for us to be able to see different perspectives at different times based on the climate of what's happening to us. So like Becca said, some people cannot choose home births, and that's okay. But you're having to prepare your mind for what that's going to look like, which is maybe your husband, maybe not, and no other support people. So I love the information that April has for us to learn more about home births, so that maybe that can feel more comfortable to you, or if there's any other options you can at the hospital. But right now it's hard for us to speak to the hospitals because things are changing all the time.
And I mean, to be fair, hospitals are like, we're talking birth related. Birth is not a medical illness or treatment in the form that, with the virus, they're there because they're sick. And that's what the hospitals are first and foremost about, is that's where people go to be taken care of and get, help. So where a birth is a different event, is a different type of being taken care of, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's why home birth is an option. And so for those of you that might be, we'll start out by talking a little bit about home birth, and I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions that came in, because guess what? I don't know if you knew this, but I have had home births. In fact, I have 5 kids, and not one of my kids were born in the hospital. I chose all of mine to be born at home or at a birth center, and this was before it became a scary thing. So 2 things I want to say about that. Number 1 is I love home birth. I think it is an absolutely wonderful experience. However, there is a difference in choosing home birth out of your options and being educated and feeling confident in being out of the hospital versus making a decision for a home birth out of fear. Mm-hmm. So because of that, in general, there's a lot of fear going around, and especially when you're pregnant and you don't know what the climate's going to look like when you have your baby, because you're already vulnerable, you're already scared, you're already in this situation where you feel exposed and out of control, and then you're just hour by hour, it feels like things are going to go crazy even more. So So with that being said, home birth as an option, we had one question that said, I want to wait as long as possible before making a decision. How long do I wait? So I actually would recommend that if you are nervous about having a home birth at any point, and feeling like, I know that some of you have that sent in questions aren't due until September. Some of you are August. Some of you are in the middle of the summer. Some of you are like 37, 38, 39 weeks right now and feeling like, well, how do I make this decision? And is it too late? And how do I transition from hospital to home birth? So a couple of things. First is look up if you have any like birth forums on like Facebook in your area. Get on those birth forums. Get on those forums and Google and search and who are the home birth midwives in your area. And once you find a good list, contact those home birth midwives and set up a consultation with them. For the most part, again, I don't really know how busy or slammed these midwives are, but I do know that I have quite a few home birth midwife friends, and they are all so gracious and are open and willing. Their doors are open. They are ready and willing to help you transition to a home birth. Now, it can feel scary. Home birth can feel scary when you're like, I don't know if it's safe. So the best news is having even just a consultation is that you can type out a list of concerns you have, type out a list of questions, and take them with you to the consultation, or if it's a video consultation, however you meet with your midwife or potential midwife, then go to bed, go to the other bathroom. Sorry, I'm at home. I'm usually not at home, and they hear me on the phone. Anyway, contact your midwife and then ask them the questions, because this is the best news. Midwives, especially home birth midwives, are with you. Like, you call them when you are in labor. That was my biggest question when I transitioned to out of hospital, because I actually started when I was first pregnant with my very first baby. I planned on having a hospital birth, and it was I was close to 30 weeks when I decided to move to out of hospital. And so I contacted a few midwives, and I set up an appointment, and I went to them. And that was my biggest question, was like, okay, well, how do you know if something, like, what happens if there's an emergency? And one of the midwife I chose, but they all essentially said the same thing. But she said, you know what, there's very rarely an emergency when it comes to home birth, because we are with you. We are there. We are trained in labor and pregnancy and delivery. And so we know there's always signs. To every emergency, there's always preemptive signs, in that either we are there and can see what's happening and either remedy it so that it's not an emergency, or we know that it's going to become an emergency, and we easily transition. Take the step, transition you to the hospital. And that just totally set me at ease, because I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so I even went and asked her a few different things, like, well, what about if my baby's in the wrong position, or what if I tear, or what, all of the things that I was concerned about, I asked her, and she broke it down for me as far as okay, well, this is what we do in this situation. This is what we do in this situation. And I was I left feeling like, okay, this is good. I can do this. I can totally do this. This is everything I needed to know. And so, that's if you are I don't know, maybe I want a home birth. Maybe I don't really want a home birth, but I go that route. If my husband was restricted from being with me, I say just contact the home birth midwives and fill them out. Use your intuition. So,
well, and the thing that's nice about that is your question will be answered. So in your mind, you're spinning. Should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And the nice thing is if you meet with one and you ask them the questions and you don't feel comfortable, you're like, awesome, I'm going to the hospital. And now you can wrap your mind around what that looks like.
Yeah.
Or you meet with one and you're like, this is it. This feels so much better. Then you wrap your mind around that. So just knowing your options and making a choice is really the best thing you can do for your mind and your body at this time.
Yes, 100% agree with that. So then it's not a unknown. Then it's like, oh, I made this decision because I feel good about this decision, and this is how it's going to go. And even if you meet with a home birth midwife and really, really love it and decide like, okay, it's going to be okay if this is the way, but I want a hospital birth.
They're
like,
okay with that.
Firstly, I want a hospital birth, but if I don't, I know I can call her. So that actually brings me to another question. That one of our followers said that she can't afford a home birth. She'd like a home birth, but she can't afford. So wanted to know ways of like potential
financing or whatever.
Well, okay, so I wanted to bring up financing. Most home birth midwives will do like monthly payments. They'll do bartering. They'll do trades. Like really open yourself up to it, because although and I've also heard recently that insurance is opening up paying for so contact your insurance provider if that's something you're really concerned about. And then second, as you contact, because we do not recommend you birthing home without care. We do not recommend that. We really think that, especially if you're a first-time mom, especially if you've never had a baby before, you really definitely need somebody there that knows what they're doing, that knows what's happening, that can help you.
No matter what, you do not want to be by yourself. And your husband doesn't want to be. Just make sure there's some sort of care with you.
So, with that being said, you like know who to call. Know, like, have at least, whether or not you decide to hire the midwives or not, but just know that there's somebody that you can call. And then again, talk about them about financing. I know as doulas, there's doulas out there that will barter and trade, and which is fantastic. Like, it's a really, really great community. But you can't just have, well, you can, I guess, but doulas, certified doulas will not be there they're not clinical. They do not deliver babies. So they're just there for support. So just so you know, that there is a difference between midwives and doulas. And so you definitely want to make sure that you have the right care. Ruthie said, I thought home births are inexpensive compared to hospital births. It depends on your insurance. Honestly, it just depends on how much is covered. For me, it was cheaper because it actually was cheaper than my deductible. So it cost me about $3,500 to have an out-of-hospital. My first birth was about $3,500, and my deductible is like $4,500. So it made sense. Right now, like in Idaho, the level of care is about, or the base care, I think around the nation, base care for out-of-hospital births is $3,000, and then your midwife, depending, will go up from there. My last baby was $5,000 out of hospital. So, and that was for everything. That was all my prenatal visits. That was for the birth. That was for my postnatal visits, which they came to my house. I never left, which was really fantastic. So again, check out their costs and things that way. We had another question that is a VBAC safe for home birth? That is a good question to ask your midwife. There are lots of home birth midwives that are trained in VBAC. So
lots of them. But
yes.
you'll need to ask if they're trained in VBACs.
Yes, and so there are a lot of home birth midwives that will actually take VBAC clients. So it's definitely a possibility. So just know that. Okay, and then we have concerned about constant changes and restrictions being implemented. It's true. It's like daily. We don't know from week to week what and like what's true in one part of the country is different.
Right.
So it just doesn't really know how it's going to play out, unfortunately. And we had a lot of a lot of comments that was like, no woman should have to go through this. And it's absolutely true. It's such a hard, I mean, in normal situations, there are like patient rights, right? We have patient rights. You like, it's a patient right to have people with you when you birth, but when we're under like a global health crisis, things are different. So, okay, sorry, the baby woke up, so I'm just letting my husband know that I should definitely leave my house. I always have left my house, but now I know it's a really good idea, always. Molly said, my last home birth was $1,500 and insurance covered pre and postnatal care. That's awesome. That's fantastic. See, you just never quite know what is going to be available to you. So look into it. Look into it. I know that in Idaho, like Medicaid will cover home birth up to a certain point. So that's awesome too, to get it partially covered. Okay. Trying another, all right, I'll come back to this one. Lena, do you have anything you want to add? Or
no, I mean, what are some really, just quickly, what are some of the things?
Okay. So we had a question about home birth essentials. So I've had 4 home births, and I will put this in our email. I'll write a list in our email, but some really great ones are like shower curtain liners, and they're like $3 at Walmart. They're super cheap. I get like 3 or 4 of them because like I'll have one in the car just in case. I throw it in the car, like just like the pack of it, throw it in the car, and like have it in my bathroom. And then you just like throw them down. Sometimes it's on the bed, sometimes it's on the floor. It's actually, home birth is super easy to clean up. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to tell you. I'm just gonna throw it out there because I want to normalize home birth a little bit. So a couple of the big concerns is that it's messy. And then it's like, well, what? Like, I'm just like, I have a whole bunch of mess in my house after having a baby. And the thing that's awesome about home birth midwives is that they come in and they clean up everything when you're done. I remember after my first home birth, I got in the bathtub after I had my baby. And while I was in my bathtub, like just like doting over my sweet baby, they changed my sheets. They started my laundry. They did my dishes. They cleaned my bathroom. They took out my garbage. Like, it was like, and then when I got out of the bathtub, they helped me get my clothes back on, and they tucked me into bed with my baby and made sure everything was good. And then they were like, okay, we'll be back tomorrow to check on you. And she was born in the middle of the night, and it was so great. I went to sleep and I slept, and then they came back like 24 hours later, and it was fantastic. So, and yeah, I was fed, like it was so great.
So nice. But to be fair, a lot, you've had some that haven't done that too. Like, it's they'll start your laundry, they'll clean up, they like make sure things are clean. So it's not a mess. It's not as messy as you think it would be.
No, it's not a.
And speaking to these questions, Emily and Amanda are asking what the switch from a midwife clinic to a home birth would be the same, right? April, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so it really is, if you meet with some midwives or like a home birth midwife and really love her and decide to switch with her, all you do is tell her who you were seeing before she contacts the clinic and requests your records, and that's it. And then you just set up your next appointment with your midwife and your new midwife, and that's it. It's super easy. It really, the transition is super easy. And in this environment,
even if you love your midwives or you love your doctors, they understand. They completely understand in this environment what's happening, and it's like no hard feelings. You have to be comfortable with the way that you are birthing your baby. What's next, April? What's another one?
Okay, so, well, and I will just say, as far as cleaning up, all midwives will clean up the birth bed. All of them will make sure that you have clean sheets and warm towels and like all of that. So speaking of, but you kind of provide a lot of they'll bring all of the like medical stuff. So they bring like Pitocin, they bring oxygen, they bring
lots of supplies. Lots of supplies.
they have like roller bags full of supplies. So essentially there's some of them that will have nitrous oxide, so like to help with the laughing gas, to help ease kind of that pain too. So you can ask them kind of what they have available for that. And then they bring stuff, but they require, or not require, but they request that you have like shower curtain liners and like the Chuck's pads. And I'm gonna just show you. I still have a whole bunch of
Okay, so while you're looking, Sarah, I think it is asking, how do you handle family that thinks hospital births are extremely hippie and the backlash, even though, you know what is the best part? And I don't, this is my personal opinion, but it's like, this is your experience, and maybe you could say that, like, this is my experience and this is what I'm comfortable with. And I think it's hard to, they might judge you behind your back, but I think it's hard to, when you say, you know what, it's important to me, or this is what I've chosen. And sometimes it's hard to be like, well, that's stupid and that's hippie. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, you might get those comments, but if you make the decision and you feel really good about it, you'll probably, honestly, I will just say, as far as my clients that have had experience with family members that are non-supportive of it, it's really just comes down to everybody just like pretends not, like it's not a topic people talk about. So it's so even though you know they don't agree with you, and you're like, as long as your spouse is on board, and even then, I know I have a lot of just come to us. We will help get them on board, because home birth is really fantastic and really a normal like experience. Make sure though that you choose your care provider. This is like across the board. Choosing the right care provider is essential. So finding, like, making interviews type of situation where you've contacted several of them and are asking all of them the same questions and getting feedback, and then following your gut. Like, does it feel like you're drawn to a certain person? Does it feel like you're making a decision out of like confidence and faith instead of fear or being scared?
Okay, so Whit has a really, really applicable question. How would you address these concerns with a partner who is completely against home births? He'd rather me be at the hospital alone than even consider a home birth. And that is a toughie for me, Whit, because I get a little bit like, are you okay? Let's go ahead and put a baby inside of you. You go to the hospital by yourself, and you know, I get a little bit like that. But I understand. I have a partner that I wanted a different kind of birth than my husband wanted, and we kind of had to come in the middle. So I just compromise is something that I'd really like, but is really the best thing that I can offer when it's a partner. But also education. Sometimes your partner doesn't know what they don't know. So like our course that we just started, we have a partner course that is everything the partner needs to know and understand about you and what it is, and the mom, what they're going through and how they can support, and actually all the statistics that go along with why a woman wants, what's happening with a woman in labor and delivery, and how you can support them, and how just supporting a woman in labor can affect the memory, the outcome, everything, interventions. It can affect everything when a woman is supported. So I would recommend education for a husband. So I would try the compromise, and maybe within that compromise is, I need you to read this or understand this. Have them call us. We'll talk to them. We're really nice, but we'll say, buddy, come on.
Well, and like, to be fair, they're afraid. They are afraid. It's hard to watch the person you love be in pain and want to fix it and not feel like you can fix it. Yeah. And so feeling more, it's really common for men to feel more confident in a hospital setting, knowing that if anything goes wrong, everything is there to take care of the person they love. And so so with that being said, it really does come down to education. And so, and I would say for me, it like, because I mean, my husband's a little bit more open-minded and doesn't care as much as like I'm super strong and opinionated, and so he's just kind of like, well, let's whatever. But I really, what was really important to me was that he actually came to the interviews with all of the care providers, and I set up several like in the hospital, and then when I decided to go out of the hospital, he came with all of. I would say if your husband is like super strong opinionated against home birth, I would, but that's something that you want. I would say, okay, I'm going to set up appointments for, you know, 2 people for inside a hospital, and then 2 people for home birth. And you need to come to all of those appointments with me, and you have to have a list of questions that you're concerned about, and you have to participate in this. Because if you want to have any say in
Yeah.
outcome and the situation of this birth, you can't just say it. You have to actually participate in it. So have him come with you to the appointments, have him ask his questions, and see if he feels like they get answered and he gets validated, or if he can, his fears can become abated. Because a lot of times it is just they don't know what to know. They don't know, and they don't know the type of support that you can get out of a hospital, which is
right. And they only know that they have no idea, and that's scary to people when they have no idea. So part of it's like, ooh, I don't know what to do about this, so it's just easier. So anyway, I think that what you are awesome. And you know what? Meet your husband somewhere. But I love that idea that April said, maybe interview a couple and really together decide. And if he feels like he needs some support and some education, send him our way. I love also what Brandy talked about is that education is always helpful for all parties involved. And thank you. We totally agree. And I think, Brandy, you also said something about that some people can't have out of hospital births. And you're exactly right. There are a lot of you that really have to be at the hospital. So the nice thing, not the nice thing, it's sad that if you can't have your support people there, but you can at least wrap your mind around what that looks like for you, and trying to get any support you can, however you can. So
I will say we had a couple of labor and delivery, and so Brandy is currently in the hospital right now on bed. So she knows what she's talking about, and she knows like hourly what's happening in her hospital, at least. And she said that because she's at the University of Utah Hospital, and she said that they are really like super feel like support people are really important. So they will never restrict at her hospital, which is awesome. It's a great hospital. Try and find a great hospital like that if you can.
Yeah.
But then also kind of just going along with, we had a couple of labor and delivery nurses give us some comments too. And I want you to know that even if you can't have like maybe your doula there, most labor and delivery nurses are fantastic. They are so good at their jobs, and they love you. They really, they like, I can't tell you the outpouring of love that they were in our DMs. They were just like, we're trying so hard to make sure that these women, like, they hate it. They hate that this is even a thing, that partners are being restricted, that support teams are being restricted. And so they want you to know that I really think in this setting, especially labor and delivery nurses, the medical staff, the support team that are there are stepping up. They're going to be supportive even more, and especially if you communicate well. So if you feel like if you, like Becca and Brandy and those that have to have hospital births and are feeling a little bit scared and nervous about not having your people with you, write a birth plan. Make sure you communicate with the medical staff. Like, I really love counter pressure. I really need emotional support. I really need somebody there in the room with me at all times. Is this going to be even a possibility? If my husband's not there, I need somebody to be there with me. I need somebody to hold my hand. Like, write it down, write the things that you are most concerned about down, and make sure that you communicate it with your hospital staff, and they will show up for you. I promise you, they're going to show up for you.
Especially labor and delivery, because like April said, they completely understand what's happening, and they understand that birth is a separate issue to what is going on in the hospitals and, you know, all the emergency that is there, and they're going to take care of you. So also think of that as you're contemplating that that medical staff is going to try to be there for you as much as they can. So when you interview your home birth midwives, you know, you can make that decision, and just what you feel the most comfortable in. Okay, anything else, April? Do you have?
Okay. Okay. Again, more questions about finding a home birth midwife in transition when you're late in your third trimester, finding a good care provider. I would just say, get on those birth forums, ask for recommendations, set up the calls and the interviews as soon as you possibly can, and see how you feel about them. Again, trust your gut. You know, like, it is a scary situation, right? But trust your gut. Know that you know that it will where you need to be, and it'll work out perfectly. Then, okay. Okay, exposing a baby to the virus in the hospital. That was a concern too. And that, I mean, that's a valid concern because it's there, right? The virus is typically in the hospital setting. However, hospitals have gone to great measures to make sure that it is contained. They are quarantined. They are sealed off. Like, nobody's in and out of those places without any sort of protection. So
they have to protect their medical staff. They have to protect the everybody there. So really, they do the best they can.
They do the best they can, and know that especially the babies, the NICUs, the labor and delivery, they are protected. They are usually like different entrances, and I guess in the smaller hospitals maybe not as much.
Yeah,
but
they don't, but they really try. They try and redirect air. They're suited up. They try their best.
Yes, and they are also getting you out of the hospital ASAP to protect you as well. Yeah. Yep, it's true. They realize what's going on, and they do try to put you out there. I mentioned today that my friend said her midwife said one of the options she had was AMA, or against medical advice, that to leave the hospital within a few hours after the birth. And I had a few of you made this comment, and I do know this, but it is, I just didn't want to get long-winded on the stories. But AMA typically means if you leave against medical advice, they usually want you to sign a paper that says you're leaving against medical advice, and that can negate your insurance, as far as make it so your insurance will not pay your hospital stay. So A, know that, but B, also note that you don't have to sign anything. And I say that with a grain of salt, because it opens up a huge can of worms as far as like child protective services. Sometimes there's protocols that if you leave against medical advice and don't sign anything, like, they can call child protective services. Like, there's a lot of things, and so I would just say, again, just knowing that is an option, A, is nice to know, but B, do whatever you can to be confident in your decision where you are. But like Brandy said, with these uncertain times, a lot of times they're just going to release you sooner than later, because
if you're recovering well, and if things are going well, they will. I think you're exactly right. So a few people have asked the essentials for a home birth. So we kind of April talked a little bit about them earlier.
A little bit. Okay. A few other things are these like Chuck's pads. So I know you've seen them. in the hospital. Did you know you can buy them at Walmart?
Yeah.
They're in the continence section of Walmart by your pads. But these are awesome. You can get big bags. You can get them in your Walmart grocery pickup. Like I still have a whole bunch. And so you have these, they're disposable. And like pads, you'll want some pads. You can make padsicles. You would do that maybe anyway, but then also there's washcloths and towels. I recommend especially washcloths. You get a brand new stack. You can get a huge stack for like $5 at Walmart, just even white ones. What's awesome too is when you go into labor, if you have a whole bunch of clean towels, you can throw those clean towels in the dryer. So when your baby comes out, they're nice and warm and snuggly. It's really wonderful. If you have, let's see, other things are like food. Make sure you have food. And what's often on there is like a crock pot. So that way, a lot, again, home birth midwives have a lot of tricks up their sleeve, and one of those, and we teach this in our class, it is a huge help. I do it on a lot of my clients, if they're but not that I do it, but I recommend a warm compress on the perineum. So having a crock pot of water, like when you get close, so you have the crock pot on, but then you turn it off so that it's not super hot, because you want to definitely make sure that if it's just warm water, and you could put the water or washcloth in, wring it out, and then put that warm compress on the perineum, and that helps a ton with protecting the perineum so that you don't tear, and also helps direct your pushing. It helps a lot of it just overall just really helpful. So there's things like that is super nice. And then, again, I'm trying to think of my list. There's like pineapple juice and cranberry juice, honey. As weird as this sounds, it was my second baby, and I tore a little bit, and my midwife was checking, again, something you'll want to ask your home birth midwife is, as far as tearing goes, like what their skills allow. I know that there's some that if the tearing is too much, then they would want you to transfer to a hospital for suturing. But for the most part, they're really quite skilled in suturing. I had one baby that there was a part that she was like, "Oh, you have a little split right here," and I mean, I could put one stitch in it, but do you have any honey? I was like, "Yeah, I've got honey." So she grabbed some honey and like dabbed it on there, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that came together really nicely." So it's totally hippie, right? But it's like, it worked, and it's awesome. I'm not going to show you my perineum, but it worked.
It worked. So we're so anyway, we'll give you that list in the email.
Yeah.
And we've been on here for like 45 minutes, so we'll let you guys go. But I want to we were also going to give you a list of immunity building herbs or things that you could consume at home as preventative measures for virus and immune system building. I'll put the complete list in the email. But and April and I didn't talk about our giveaway this week, but I think I'm going to give away. Are you okay with this, April?
Yeah.
So I'm going to send whoever wins the giveaway. So if you want to enter the giveaway, put a comment here for the 24 hours that this live is on. Give me a comment and subscribe to our email newsletter, and you'll be in the drawing. I'm going to give you a few boxes of teas and perhaps like an essential oil. I don't know. I'm going to throw whatever I'm excited to throw in there. But
some building stuff.
Yeah, just like your immune building. So ginger, garlic, oregano, a lot essential. There's lots of essential oils.
Maybe we'll do a whole line on those, because knowing that these are just herbs and food, and they actually build your immune system. They support you in your health. And so as moms, that's our biggest concern, right? Like being able to give something to our kids that we feel like is actually going to help, right? Like at least our growing up, when we grew up, if we were sick, we went if it didn't needed a Band-Aid, we went to the doctor, and the doctor gave us either an antibiotic or like something. It was just like you felt better if you went to the doctor for some reason. But as we actually have shifted a lot, and Alina was the one that kind of broke our family into the herb setting, and she's a master herbalist. Again, if you didn't know that, Alina is a master herbalist, and so she knows all the things. And herbs are food, and they are supportive to our bodies, and they heal and help enhance our immune systems. And so there's a lot of things that you can actually have in your cabinet, in your medicine cabinet, that will build your family support immune system and support their health.
Yes. So, and the nice thing is it's all preventative, and it can help in certain circumstances. So we feel like we want to go during this tool of understanding what home birth is, your options for home birth. That's a tool that we want to give you. And then we also want to give you can have for immune boosting. Because we love you guys, we want you to say and know you have options, and know that even though this
I don't know if you guys are hearing Alina. I think we lost her. Anyway, we love you guys. Thank you for being here. You are fantastic. I don't know if my internet is dying as well, but have a wonderful. We lost Alina. Look for our email coming out on Thursday, and we'll have lists of the home birth essentials, what we talked about tonight about home birth, and perhaps a list of herbs and oils and things that you can enhance your support. So love you. Good night.